Hey, Allison.
Hey, Toby.
How are you?
Best day of my life.
Amazing. Every day is.
Yes, that's the truth.
So, Allison, I'm so happy that we're finally doing this chat on NuMundo because you've written a really incredible book that I think will be of interest to a lot of our community. Can you can you share that with us?
Sure, thank you. So I wrote this book called The Millennial's Guide to Changing the World, which is available in bookstores across the country. You can also get it online, and I have an audiobook for those of you who don't like to read. Um, yeah, and I published it about a year ago. And yeah, it's all about the millennial generation and coming of age in America and finding a sense of purpose and an identity, and also like how to how to participate in this society. And perhaps the goal is that the millennial generation, because we are so large, because we have very particular generational ideals that I think this society needs, how we can create critical mass conversion inside of our systems so that these innovations that are addressing the crises of our times can get implemented into institutions.
And you published the book a year ago, but it was a long journey to research and write it. Is that correct?
It was the longest journey of my life, Toby.
Tell us a little bit about the inspiration for it.
So I was 24. Now I'm 32 when I first got the idea. So I'm like, this is a long journey. And I really didn't understand what was going on inside of our society. And I had all these like intuitions. I'm like, are we in a pre-apocalyptic state of the world? Like, are we all going to die in an environmental catastrophe? And at that point, the research wasn't as overwhelming as it is now, kind of pointing to that this could be a plausible reality. So I wanted to figure out the moving pieces of the system and try to like really understand like what was going on in the world around me. And then since I graduated right into the Great Recession, I was also super interested in how other people in my age group were creating opportunities for themselves inside of society, where the millennial generation historically had a lack of opportunities and a lot of systemic disadvantages that we had to overcome because of the recession. And yeah, and this all about this like pursuit to thrive and to live life on your own terms and not the way that generations in the past have crusaded as the only way to make a life in America.
And you touch on some of your experiences in living in ecological communities, or what we call impact centers at NuMundo. How do those sorts of communities fit into your vision of the millennial generation?
Well, I learned a lot about social permaculture through living in these communities. And actually, the whole book is a book about social permaculture, essentially. And permaculture is one of these organizing philosophies of a lot of these impact hubs, and how humans can restore ourselves into living in harmony with the earth and with our resources and one another. So I see, for the millennials who are looking for alternatives, that these impact hubs that NuMundo highlights on your platform, they are viable alternatives if you are looking for an alternative life, and to learn philosophies about how to be with nature and how to be with one another in a more peaceful way.
And then what are some of the links in your mind between transformational travel, which is what we really promote on NuMundo, and this purpose-driven life that's not outside of society, but that's actually working within society? You've come on a press trip to Costa Rica that was all about transformational travel. You recently were at a NuMundo Impact Center in Costa Rica called Rhythmia, And there's a blog post that I'll share in the comments on this video that Alison wrote for us. So you've been living transformational travel, you know really what this concept is about. How can that be a pathway into the life that you're describing?
Well, by the way, thank you so much for that amazing press trip, and thank you to Rhythmia for that amazing trip. It's kind of like that quote, you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. And these transformational travel experiences are ways for millennials or anyone to just heal, to like really take the time to heal themselves so that we can approach life in the world like from that consciousness, from a more place of wholeness, from purpose, from an inspirational, perhaps like visionary, you might want to call it, perspective, as we integrate these philosophies into the world, because that is the scale of impact that we ultimately need to have to solve these problems that we are inheriting as a generation. So yeah, I mean, and I think millennials are a generation who we're called the therapy generation. And for us, like, we're not that religious, we're more like spiritual, but that even is a very amorphous blanket term. And my interpretation of what spirituality means for us is like the direct experience of transformation. And if going to a different country, immersing yourself in a different environment, a different cultural environment, really being able to be authentic and have intimate connections with people because the environment that you're in supports that growth and that kind of connection. If that helps you transform yourself and have a renewed faith in life and humanity, then that has everything to do with our work in the world. And it's also one of the reasons why I think millennials we're considered like nomads. We're considered very wanderlusty. We have a hard time sticking to 9-to-5s because we are craving these transformational experiences, and it's not limited to just 2 weeks of vacation time a year.
So then could we say that when people are seeking to travel in this way, it's not that they're running away from problems or running away from the world, but they're actually seeking healing and growth and transformation to then bring back and spread?
Probably it's a mixed bag between, like there's
probably
like they're just like tumbleweed through it. But maybe that's their like archetype to work with in this life. I don't know. I'm not here to judge, but I think for a lot of people, as much as we can have these alternative experiences, I found in my own experimenting that you can't really escape certain realities about the system and its omnipresence and how, like, we have to create careers for ourselves. We have to have commerce. We have to like interact with the system in some way. So I have found that most people eventually get to a point where they have to integrate back into society just for their own survival. Because like when you're young, it's cute. You can couch surf. You can do these things, but they're like, Alison, I can't stay on my couch anymore. I'm like, but I'm transforming. So like eventually, you have to become a stakeholder in society. And while this system might have many, many, many flaws, there are opportunities for us through capitalism to become stakeholders in society. And so, but that's something you have to really work on and work towards. And then there's a level of empowerment and influence and impact that comes with that pursuit.
Thank you. We're almost out of time. So is there any last nugget of wisdom or insight that you'd like to leave people with?
Yeah, I guess just enjoy the journey. I don't regret any of the time I took kind of wandering the path less traveled. And I think it all leads to something, and there's a bigger mystery that we're all a part of that's unfolding, and we'll see what happens. But my experiences living in intentional communities, traveling around the world, doing all these things that NuMundo highlights and makes available for people to have these experiences, that they have profoundly shaped who I am. And yeah, it's all part of a bigger picture.
Great. Alison, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today. The Millennial's Guide to Changing the World. There's a lot more in there than what we were able to cover today, so find it in a bookstore near you or follow the link in the description to this video and buy a copy online.
Right, like How to Change the World. There's 288 pages you need to read. That was just a little drop.
Just a few nuggets to get you started. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Toby. A pleasure as always.
And thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. We'll see you soon.
Bye.